So we'll start on page 1, and I'm going to read through this. For the benefit of all sentient beings, the most gracious Buddha Shakyamuni spoke the Dharma through the sutras and tantras. The 5 profound paths of Mahamudra and the 6 yogas of Naropa are the essence of the Buddha's teachings, which enable one to attain enlightenment even in one lifetime. However, to practice the path of Mahamudra and the 6 yogas of Naropa, one must be fully convinced of the 4 ways of turning the mind, or the 4 ordinary foundations. The 4 ways of turning the mind are the basis for the successful practice of any of the yanas. Then one practices the 4 extraordinary foundations, or the Vajranyana Ngondro, to purify the negative karma and obscurations of the mind, speech, and body, and to develop the virtues. The great 12th century Tibetan saint, Lord Jigten Sumgun, the second Nagarjuna, said, "The Ngondro is even more important than the higher practices. One must truly understand and practice the simple yet profound foundational teachings before one begins the higher teachings." The altruistic motivation. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. The long refuge prayer. All sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in the glorious kind Lama Vajradhara, the embodiment of the body, speech, and mind, qualities and activities of the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times, source of the 84,000 categories of the teachings, and Lord of the Sanghas. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities and the mandalas of the Idams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Cultivating the mind of enlightenment. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. The short refuge prayer we'll recite 3 times. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. The 4 immeasurables. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. The seven-limb prayer on page 11. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostrations, offering, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. 4 ways of turning the mind. Oh, this kind of leisure and endowment is supremely difficult to obtain. When we obtain this body, which is easily lost, do not waste it meaninglessly, but rather use it to attain the ultimate liberation, joyous result. And then we contemplate the meaning of precious human life. Okay, short meditation, short contemplation. Next is impermanence. The nature of all phenomena is impermanence. Death is a certainty to all who are born. Death can descend any time like a drop of morning dew on a blade of grass. Quick, it is the time to make effort for the essence of Dharma. Contemplate impermanence. All right. Third is karma, cause, and result. The fruit of one's positive karma is happiness. Suffering is the fruit of negative karma. The inexorable karmic causation is the mode of abiding of all dharmas. Henceforth, practice the Dharma by distinguishing between what should be practiced and what should be given up. Contemplate karma, cause, and result. Next is the suffering of samsara, or the faults of samsara. In the 3 lower realms, and even in the 3 higher ones, there is not an instant of absolute happiness. I will avoid the root cause of my samsaric existence and practice the excellent path of peace to enlightenment. Contemplate suffering. Okay. So now we visualize the protection fence, the Vajra fence, and we recite the Sanskrit alphabet. Om, a, I, u, ri, li, o, ung, a, kaka, gaga, na, zaza, na, tata, dada, na, tata, dada, na, papa, baba, ma, yawalawa, sa, ka, saha, kriya, soha. Om, a, I, u, ri, li, o, ung, a, kaka, gagana, zaza, na, tata, dada, na, papa, baba, ma, yawalawa, sa, ka, saha, kriya, soha. Om, a, I, u, ri, li, o, ung, a, kaka, gagana, zaza, na, tata, dada, na, na, papa, baba, ma, yawalawa, sa, ka, saha, kriya, soha. Om Yadharma, Hetu Pavawa, Hetu Takan Tadagato, Heowa Tatata, Takanso, Yonorada, Ewamwadi, Ma Shamani, Soha. Om Yadharma, Hetu Pavawa, Hetu Takan Tadagato, Heowa Tatata, Takansa, Yonorada, Ewamwadi, Ma Shamani, Soha. All phenomena arise from causes. Those causes have been taught by the Tathagata. The cessation, too, has been proclaimed by the great ascetic, the Shramaniye. So be it. Soha. In English, the 100-syllable mantra. Om Vajrasattva Samaya. Help to protect my vow, to purify myself. May you remain firm with me. Grant me the complete satisfaction. Grow with me. Be loving towards me. Grant me the attainments to master the powers beyond body and nature. Show me all the deeds of body, speech, and mind. Make my mind heart good, virtuous, and auspicious. Revel in the bliss of the four joys, O Blessed One, who embodies the essence within me. Do not abandon me. Grant me the realization of the indestructible nature. Make me one with you. Thus I signify my unity with non-duality. Ah. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manu Palaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Drista Dredo Me Bawa Suto Kayo Me Bawa Supo Kayo Me Bawa Anuraktu Me Bawa Sara Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sara Karma Sutsa Me Sitsan Triya Kuru Hum Ha 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 ho Bhagawan Saratada Gata Bajra Mame Munsa Bajri Bhava Mahasamaya Satwaha Om Bajra Satwa Samaya Manupalaya Bajra Satwa Tenopa Jista Dredo Me Bhava Suto Kayo Me Bhava Supo Kayo Me Bhava Anuraktu Me Bhava Sara Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sara Karma Sutsa Me Sitsan Triya Kuru Hong Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Saratada Gata Bajra Mame Munsa Bajri Bhava Maha Samaya Satwaha. The increasing mantras for the practice. In English, arising from a defiled mind, be reborn into great wisdom. Arising from a defiled mind, be reborn into great wisdom. Arising from a defiled mind, be reborn into great wisdom. In Sanskrit, 4 times. Om Sambar Bhimanasara Mahazambo Hung. 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 Arising from defiled lives, remember and purify the flower of wisdom. arising from defiled lives, remember and purify the flower of wisdom. Arising from defiled lives, remember and purify the flower of wisdom. Om smar smar bimar skar mahazambu hong pe. 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 Arising great holy wisdom, purify this life. Arising great holy wisdom, purify this life. Arising great holy wisdom, purify this life. Om Sambar Sambar Mahazambu Hong Pe. 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 The beads. The enlightened body, speech, and mind are the precious Dharma protector, whose mirror-like wisdom is a door to purification. The enlightened body, speech, and mind of the precious Dharma protectors, whose mirror-like wisdom is the door to purification. The enlightened body, speech, and mind of the precious Dharma protectors, whose mirror-like wisdom is the door to purification. Om Ruchi Ramana Prarataya Hong Pe. 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 The body, speech, and mind of pure love is ultimate wisdom. The body, speech, and mind of ultimate wisdom. The body, speech, and mind of pure love is ultimate wisdom. The body, speech, and mind of pure love is ultimate wisdom. The body, speech, and mind of pure love is ultimate wisdom. Om Ri Pamanurti Shvari Hong. 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 Om Ah Hong 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 Omo Aho. Okay. Anybody have any questions about the opening prayers? Okay, then we move to the next part. The benefits of taking refuge. If the merit of taking refuge in the triple gem could manifest in form, the whole universe could not contain it. Even though attempting to describe the infinite benefits of practicing refuge is like attempting to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. There are 8 benefits as explained in the Jewel Ornament of Liberation. One becomes a Buddhist. It becomes the basis of all precepts and vows. It exhausts all previous non-virtuous deeds. It protects one from obstacles created by humans and non-human. One accomplishes all one wishes. One gathers a great amount of merit. One will not fall into the lower realms. One attains Buddhahood swiftly. Refuge practice is the essence of all other practices. Therefore, one always should emphasize this practice. It has inconceivable beneficial effects. Through this practice, one can achieve the fearless state. So, with one point in mind, we take refuge in the three jewels. Meditate the surroundings are as inseparable from a Buddha field. In the space in front of me is a lion throne in which are a lotus sun and moon disk seat, in the center of which sits the kind root lama in the form of Vajradhara with the 7 characteristics. So you should have your image of the lineage tree or the wish fulfilling tree in clear sight in front of you, so that as you're doing your practice, as you're doing your prostrations, you're being mindful of the lineage tree, of the wish fulfilling tree. This is an important feature of the prostration practice, of the refuge practice. So with the 7 characteristics, Vajradhara is blue in color, 2 arms, holding a Vajra and a bell crossed at the heart and gracefully sitting in the Vajra position. Adorned by the silken robes and various precious jewel ornaments and surrounded by all the lineage lamas. In front of the lion throne is the Yidam Chakra Samvara, the male and female aspects in union, whose manifestation is simultaneously appearance and emptiness. At the right side of the throne is the assembly of the Buddhas of the 3 times, possessing all the auspicious signs of a Buddha, together with the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate Kalpa. Behind the throne is the Prajnaparamita, proclaiming the relative and ultimate meaning of the 3 yanas. To the left of the throne is the assembly of the compassionate bodhisattvas, surrounded by the Sangha of the 3 yanas. Around the base of the throne are the Dharmapalas, an ocean of guardians gathered like clouds. So we should be totally familiar with the images on the pictures and be able to identify those groups that were just called out in the practice here. So if you have any question, any doubt about the images, please speak up, and so we can help you understand exactly where these what these images represent, where they are on the illustrations. Okay, so we move on to the refuge prayer. Buddhas, Dharma, Sanghas, Yidams, and Dharma protectors, to these supreme objects of refuge for protection from the hordes of sufferings of samsara, we all migrators go for refuge until enlightenment is attained. Buddhas, Dharma, Sanghas, Yidams, and Dharma protectors, to these three supreme objects of refuge for protection from the hordes of suffering of samsara, we all migrators go for refuge until enlightenment is attained. Tibet. Sangye cho so yidam cho kyung che kab chog nam la dag so jawa kun si pe jik sog nam na le kyob chi jang shu ma to bardu kyab su chi. I rejoice when all sentient beings are happy and free from the samsaric suffering and swiftly attain ultimate Buddhahood. For this purpose, from now on until I achieve enlightenment, I will follow the path to the ultimate goal. I rejoice when all sentient beings are happy and free from the samsaric suffering and swiftly attain ultimate Buddhahood. For this purpose, from now on until I achieve enlightenment, I will follow the path to the ultimate goal. Drokunde den dugnel drawadan, nor du la me to pardagawe. De chir den ne shang shu ma to bar, Ne pe dong chok lam la juk pa ja. So now we come to the refuge prayer. This is where we begin to do our prostrations. So we'll recite this one time in English, one time in Tibet, and then we'll proceed with the explanation of the prostrations. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities and the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Transcend Sawa Dangur Pa Jepe Paldan Lama Dampa Namla Kapsu Chio Yedam Kilgur Gila Sok Namla Kapsu Chio Sange Chomden De Namla Kapsu Chio Tampe Cho Namla Kapsu Chio Pape Gedun Namla Kapsu Chio Pawo Kajo Cho Kyong Song Mei Song Yeshe Gi Chang Dang Dempa Namla Kapsu Chio. Okay. All right, so now we go to the text where it says the Drikung Kagyu Ngondro Refuge Practice Explanations. So here for your benefit is the first page is the refuge prayer that we just recited. So if you're going to embark on doing this practice, this is this text here. Now you would switch to this text and everything you need is in this text here, this explanation text. So here's the refuge prayer to help you remember that. So now we go to page 2 and now begins the explanations. So Chag Sao, the word Chag Sao means refuge prostrations. Chag Sao. So when it says Chag Sao, Wadang Cho Shing Sa Padang Jesu Yi Rankol Sing So Wai. So what you're saying is Chag Sao, I make these prostrations. So Chag Sao is prostrations, refuge prostrations. I make these offerings of prostrations and mantra recitations to purify my body, speech, and to purify my mind by developing the three faiths, the trusting faith, longing faith, clear faith in the three jewels. So this is the statement. This is like the mission statement. This is the motivation statement. This is the reason why we are doing this. Very simple. And if we don't know what this is something that we need to commit to our memory so that we become the embodiment of this. This is the very essence of why we are doing these prostrations. I make these offerings of prostration and mantra recitations to purify my body, speech, and to purify my mind by developing the three faiths, trusting, longing, clear in the three jewels. So does anybody have any questions about any facet of this statement? About the three faiths, trusting faith, longing faith, clear faith, the three jewels. Okay, everybody is perfectly in the embodiment of this statement.
Lance, I know you've taught this before, but will you remind me what the three faiths are, especially with the clear faith, please?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Within ourselves, to get to where we are, there's been some kind of a yearning that we have had. Something maybe we recognized when we were a child. Maybe it wasn't until later in our lives as a teenager or as a young adult or something. But there was this yearning that we wanted to know something more about that which is greater than just our physical body and our intellectual body, that we recognize that there is something about a spiritual body, a spiritual nature that we have. And this is our yearning faith, to find out what that is. And that we may get answers, we may be seeking that, but we find that there are certain traditions that we go to because they're in our society. It's what our parents have taught us. It's what we learned in school or something like that. But there's been something that has been moving us forward, propelling us to learn more, to be more, to understand more of that, what that yearning faith is searching for. So that's the yearning faith. The trusting faith is that we embark on some tradition that has a teacher or a group of teachers, that has a set of scriptures, has a set of books, has a program, has some kind of a system by which we can begin to develop understanding this yearning faith that we have, that keeps us moving forward. And we may go through several sequences of those people that we trust, of those traditions that we trust. We may go through a Christian tradition, we may go through a Jewish tradition, we may go through a Hindu tradition, we may go through a Islamic tradition or a Chinese tradition, so many different traditions, shamanistic tradition, esoteric, New Age tradition. There's so many traditions, but we may also find that we reach some kind of a limit that takes us so far, and our yearning says, there's something more, there's something else beyond this, and this isn't answering it. I need to go to something else. So this trusting faith is that in each stage we are trusting the teacher, we are trusting the system, we are trusting the scriptures, and so on. So now included in that would be in the Buddhism. Now we are trusting our lamas, we are trusting the teachers, we are trusting the practices, we are trusting the scriptures that we read and the biographies of the great masters and so on. We're trusting them as helping us to recognize what that yearning within ourselves is. So we trust that. But we may move on, and that's not to say that in the Buddhist tradition, we may, feel as though we've maxed that out in some way or another, or we've reached an obstacle and we want to move on to something else, So the clear faith is when we embark on those particular different trusting faiths, and that we attain some understanding. We attained a level of attainment. We attained a level of comprehension, or maybe even a glimpse of what it is, the essence of that true spiritual nature that we're all seeking, that we're looking for, that yearning that we see, and so on. So when we reach that, there's a clear faith. Oh, this is working. Oh, I do have this within me. I am clear about that. I may not be the embodiment of it yet, or I may not be the perfection of it. I am the embodiment of it. And maybe that's the clear faith that this is within me. But I still need to continue to do work and so on. Maybe I need to move to another tradition or something like that to be able to reach that perfection. But I am clear that I'm on the right path, that there is a pathway here, that there is something that I have, and it's something that we all share, which is a very important component of this. If it is a selfish thing that only I know this and nobody else does, and I have no responsibility to help them to find it, then something's not clear there. There's an obscuration there. But it should be that everything is all together, that we see ourselves as part of a whole. So this is the clear faith of being able to recognize that, to be able to see that and cultivate that, to work on that.
Thank you.
Okay, so the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, are the first access to being able to understand that in the Buddhist tradition. The mind of the Buddha, the speech of the Buddha, and the body of the Buddha. Okay. Okay, any other questions, comment? Okay. So now we are standing and we are facing the tree. So the tree, the picture of the tree should be in front of us. And if it's on our altar, which would be the best thing if you have some kind of an altar. If not, that it's supported some way on a chair or something. It should be above, in front of us and slightly above us. Because, out of respect, we're developing mindfulness. All this is practice to develop mindfulness and to overcome our arrogance and our ego. So it's important for us to be able to place this in a position that is above and in front of us, because it is something that we are approaching. It shouldn't be down low. It shouldn't be below us. It's mindfulness. All this is all developing mindfulness, developing respect. Okay? So as I'm facing this, I say, I stand facing north in front of the lineage tree. So if I'm facing north, what is behind me? South. So we come from the south. And we'll see this in other practices later on, in the mandala practice in particular, that we come from the southern continent of Zambupipa. The rose apple continent is the name of our continent in the south that human beings abide in. And then there's other 4 continents that the animals are in and the hungry ghosts are in and so on. So we are in Zambupipa in the south. So we are of the south looking north. Okay, the tree is in the north to us. All peaceful deities are facing the tree, offering their many blessings. All wrathful deities are facing outside the tree to protect against demons, maras, obstacles, and obstructions. So we have to visualize that along with us are this multitude of peaceful deities that is facing the tree in the same direction that we are, offering their many blessings. So they're all around the tree in all directions. They're all omnidirectional, They have no specific location. They have no specific time because they are transcendent. So they're all facing the tree along with us. We are learning our place among them. All the wrathful deities, who are the emanations of the peaceful deities, they are the fierce emanations of the peaceful deities who are facing outside the tree to help those beings who have not yet recognized this, to help them to overcome their obscurations, as it says here, to protect against demons, maras, obstacles, and obstructions. So to help us, to help others around us, all other sentient beings. So they are the emanations of the peaceful deities who are fiercely offering protection to those beings who have yet to be able to approach the tree and whatever doubts we have, whatever concerns we have, to help us to overcome those. So this wrathfulness is not a hateful kind of a wrathfulness. It's not an anger. It is a fierceness of compassion, a fierceness of loving kindness. They have great wisdom, and they have great compassion to be able to do this, that they have dedicated themselves to this purpose for the benefit of the enlightenment of other beings and so on. So this is the wrathful class of the deities. So they're facing the outside of the tree to protect against demons, maras, obstacles, and obstructions. And of course, demons, maras, obstacles, and obstructions are all different ways of explaining that which is inside of ourselves that is negative, that is non-virtuous, that is confused. So it's speaking to us, it's speaking to all beings, but it's within each being. It's not something that is, outside and is not external to ourselves. It's all internal to ourselves. And these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are internal to ourselves. So we're facing the tree now, and we're visualizing this. We're still standing there. Now, on my right side is the Father, whose cause is the origin of being. To the Father, I offer gratitude. On my left side is the Mother, whose love is immeasurable, offering her kindness invitation. To the Mother, I offer loving kindness and compassion. Now, this can be taken very literally. If it weren't for our mothers and fathers, we wouldn't be here. It's a biological fact. How we were conceived, there's many different mechanisms for that to occur these days. But nevertheless, it does require a father and a mother. So for the Father, whose cause is the origin of being. Now, you got to take this into a cultural context. In most cases, in many cases anyway, it's the Father who, has the motivation. We're going to do this. So to the Father, I offer gratitude. Thank you. Now to the Mother, whose love is immeasurable, offering her kindness invitation to the Father. To the Mother, I offer loving kindness and compassion, because she is the one who has to bear the being pregnant, carrying the baby, bringing the baby, and then having to birth the baby. And then the primary responsibility of caring for the baby and raising the baby, and to being a child and to being an adult and so on like that. So on our right side, we visualize the Father. On the left side, we visualize the Mother. We're grateful for the Father for his motivation, for his cause of the origin of being, and for the Mother for her invitation. And we have gratitude for the Father. We have loving kindness and compassion for the Mother. So now we're still standing. Now we've got the peaceful deities, we've got the wrathful deities, we've got our Mother, we've got our Father. This is all very practical. Now in front of me are all my enemies. So these are the lower realm beings. They may not literally be enemies, but they represent that which we are trying to overcome. That's which we are trying to conquer. If it's our emotions, we're trying to conquer our emotions. If it's our ignorance, we're trying to conquer our ignorance. if it's our misguided wisdom, we're trying to overcome our misguided wisdom. So so the word here being used is enemies, because this is what needs to be conquered. This is what needs to be overcome. So in front of me are all my enemies. I want to keep them in front of me so that I am mindful of them, that they do not slip away and I lose awareness of them. And then else they may come and harm me in some way that I don't expect, that I don't anticipate, that I'm not prepared for. So I need to keep my enemies, I need to keep this ignorance and so on in front of me. So this is what stands between me and the tree. So these are the lower realm beings, the animal beings, the hungry ghost beings, and the hell realm beings. And giving cause to generate patience and practice tolerance. So the mode in which I am engaging with these enemies is through patience and diligence, tolerance, to be able to deal with this. And it's my problem. It's our problem to do this. The enemies are there, our negativities are there. We need to work out our relationship with them, not necessarily change them. It's more important that we change ourselves, because in samsara is unceasing. We can't regard it as something that we are going to somehow change. The only thing we can change is ourselves. We can't change samsara. And so many places and so many prayers and so many practices, it always talks about the unceasing samsara. The only thing we can change is ourselves. So we need to have patience with ourselves for the non-virtues of those that are causing us suffering, and to have tolerance for those beings that are offering us, that are showing us difficulties and suffering, to have tolerance for them. You know, if we can help them, we try and do what we can, but we're not bound to that as something that is going to be successful, and through that we have our success. It's being on the path that is the way to success. It's not the result of overcoming samsara. What we can do is transcend samsara, which means we can be in the midst of samsara, but not attached or have aversions to those sufferings, as are identified by the great sages that we talked about in the 6 realms of human beings, the 6 Buddhas that are in those realms. And there's a Buddha in each one of those realms, symbolizing that they are transcendent, but yet they are in those realms. And that maybe, so how it is that we manifest as Buddhas and Bodhisattvas is something that is beyond our comprehension, and to us it's not a how should I say, it's not an issue. It is something that we abide in, that loving kindness, that bodhicitta, to be able to have joy, to be able to have equanimity in all beings. And when we do the increasing mantras at the end, if you remember, we do Dari Dari Ben Dari Soha, Dari Dari Ben Dari Soha, which means the enlightened body speech of the mind of the Buddha is the cause for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. So the enlightened ones, their purpose is like the sun, just to shine, just to radiate, just to facilitate life, to facilitate love, to facilitate bodhicitta for all beings with no expectations, nothing to come back, just for the sake of just being able to exude this radiance, this luminescence. So, all my enemies are in front of me. Behind me are all sentient beings, the higher realm beings, the other human beings, the God beings, and the jealous God beings are behind me from the higher realms, giving cause to be mindful of the lineage tree and Mahamudra, the emptiness, clarity, and unimpededness. So behind me, supporting me, as part of me, that I am part of this, is now all these beings that are of the higher realms. Those who have transcended, at least not falling into the lower realms of samsara, but yet still in samsara, still subject to karma, still subject to suffering. So these are behind me. And I am part of that, to visualize that power of having this togetherness, our brothers and sisters all with us simultaneously. Giving cause, all this is giving cause to be mindful of the lineage tree. This is the reason we are doing it. We are doing this together. We are supporting each other to maintain our mindfulness of the lineage tree, to keep our focus of the lineage tree. And the Mahamudra. The Mahamudra is the meditation. The Mahamudra is the enlightened mind. That it is through this path, it is through this lineage tree that is there to be able to help us, to guide us, to support us to enlightenment. And the three characteristics of Mahamudra is clarity, emptiness, and unimpededness. Clarity and being able to see all things as they are. Being able to see nature as it is. To be able to see human nature as it is. To be able to see phenomenal nature as it is. To be able to see absolute nature as it is. In clarity. And to recognize that the phenomenal nature, the human nature, is all empty of its own nature. That it is composite. And that it is an appearance of absolute nature. That we interpret to be this, that, or the other thing. It is an appearance of that which is non-conceptual, uncontrived, unfabricated. I said inexpressible. So we experience that absolute nature through our practice, and that is the Mahamudra. But we recognize that the phenomenal nature is empty of its own nature. Anything conceptual, anything that a human being can think of, anything that a human being can conceive of, is all part of that phenomenal nature. The unimpededness is that we can go anywhere, do anything at any time, simultaneously, without any thought, in Mahamudra. That when we are in Mahamudra, we are in that absolute nature. We are in that absolute truth. And then we see the relative truth, We see the phenomenal nature, and now we have the ability to be able to maneuver within the phenomenal nature with no obstacles now. The only obstacles are those that we create for ourselves. That doesn't mean that we don't make choices. We make wise choices. So unimpeded means being able to have that freedom, to be able to do that within phenomenal nature. And that power comes from the absolute nature. So the realization of this comes from the experience of the Mahamudra. It's not something you learn. It's not something you read in a book. It's not something that somebody hands you with a practice or tells you to do or something like that. It is your own individual experience of that absolute nature. And it is unmistakable. We catch glimpses of it, glimpse after glimpse after glimpse. And those glimpses, become more and more, tangible to us. And we develop, we cultivate those glimpses. And those glimpses then coalesce into visions of reality. And then we become the embodiment of that reality. Spontaneously present, the clear light, the pristine cognition, the Mahamudra, the Dzogchen, the great perfection, all speaking of the same thing, the mind of enlightenment, the mind of the Buddha, the Dharmakaya. So this is behind me. This is all sentient beings who, what I mean to say is that this is what we are working at, and all these beings that we are part of are moving in that direction. To be able, giving cause to be mindful of the lineage tree and the Mahamudra, to be mindful of it. It's our goal. It's in front of us. It's our goal. Any questions or comment? Okay, then we move on. So we're still standing there. We haven't done anything yet. We're still standing there. Om, ah, hum, Om, ah, hum, om, ah, hum. We're still standing there. And what happens is we do this, and all this, just all comes together really quickly. We've taken it all apart. We're dissecting this. But when we stand up now, we're doing this with great confidence in what this is elaborating for us here. So now from my forehead emerges a white fire to purify all my past misdeeds and defilements, searing away all the negative karma and blockages of the body in order to give opportunity to manifest the 32 major and 80 minor marks of the Buddha for the benefit of the enlightenment of all sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara. I sow the seeds of the Nirmanakaya, the emanation body of the Buddha Shakyamuni. So this is from the forehead, the body. So from the fore emerges a white fire. So we can see a fire, we can see many flames, we can see one shoot of fire, one white blast of a flame, whatever you care to purify all my misdeeds and defilements of my body that have caused illness, that have caused injury of myself and other beings, or to phenomenal nature. Searing away all the negative karma and blockages of the body, searing away all the negative karma and blockages of the body, purifying. And this is an active process. You know, our saying it one time doesn't make it happen. Our saying it repeatedly makes us more and more and more mindful of how it is that we have to work with karma to sear away these blockages, these confusions, these defilements, and so on. It's a process in order to give opportunity to manifest. If we don't prepare ourselves as a pure vessel, then the 32 major marks and the 80 minor marks are not going to come to us to purify us. We have to purify ourselves first. We have to become a proper vessel. Once we become clean, purified, now these things can manifest. Now they have a proper place to be able to be cultivated and to manifest. So the 32 major marks are physical attributes of the Buddha that are enumerated in the Jewel Ornamental Liberation and other books. You can look them up. The 80 minor marks are more like characteristics, personality characteristics, active characteristics, cultural characteristics, and so on, in which the Buddha manifests. Now, literally, are we going to develop, webbed toes and long ears and a hair between our eyes and all these different things? You had a question, Michael? No?
No, I'm going to develop webbed toes.
Okay.
Yes. That's an intention.
Okay. But, so these are enumerated and so on. And so we can take that for whatever we wish to take it. Basically, what it means is that they are strong physical body aspects. That, and we talk about that we have three bodies, right? We have our physical body, we have our intellectual body, and we have our spiritual body. So the physical body is like the 32 major marks. The 80 minor characteristics, minor marks, are like the intellectual stuff, all within our spiritual body. So, so negative karma blockages of the body in order to give opportunity to manifest 32 major marks for the benefit of the enlightenment of all sentient beings. So remember, this purpose of our doing this is never, ever forgotten. It's always a basis of what we're doing. It's always for the benefit of the enlightenment of other beings. This is one of the things that we are doing. This is why we're doing the prostrations. We are purifying ourselves, getting rid of our selfishness. We're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for the benefit of others. In the sixth realm. So, and we know that it's the psychophysical drama of all human beings, so of samsara. So I sow the seeds of the Nirmanakaya. The Nirmanakaya is the emanation body of the Buddha. So there's the Dharmakaya, which is the mind of the Buddha, which is formless, desireless. But in order to be able to make that recognized by ordinary human beings, that Dharmakaya kind of manifests into the Sambhogakaya, which is the meditation deities, and into the Nirmanakaya, which are the emanation deities or the beings, to be able to teach us, to be able to show us, to be able to see that it's real, to guide us, to lead us. If we wait for ourselves to discover the Sambhogakaya by ourselves, it's going to take so long, and we're going to go off in so many different tangents and so on. But by having the Nirmanakaya beings, by having Buddha Shakyamuni, by having Garchen Rinpoche, and other such great masters in our midst, in our lifetimes, really excels or propels us, moves us, pulls us into this. So we are sowing the seeds of Nirmanakaya to recognize Nirmanakaya, to recognize our Nirmanakaya, that we become Nirmanakaya, we become Sambhogakaya, we become Dharmakaya. All that is within us. So we have to cultivate that by removing, by cleaning away, purifying all the obscurations. Then all this stuff, now you can start working with it. Now you can start bringing these things, recognizing these things, and making these things stronger and stronger and stronger. So this is what the Ngondro is all about. The first part is getting rid of our ego. That's the biggest obstacle we have, our selfishness. The next step is we do the Vajrasattva part, which is the purification part. And then the next part after that is the mandala offering. Everything that we have, including our body, we're offering for the benefit of the enlightenment of all sentient beings. And then the Guru Yoga is recognizing the Guru within ourselves, recognizing the Guru that is teaching us, and recognizing that that Guru wisdom is within ourselves. So it's all very practical process. So Buddha Shakyamuni is the one who is doing this for us, who is helping us, is the Nirmanakaya emanation of the Dharmakaya to bring this to us. When we do the prayer, the interdependent origination prayer, Om Dharma Yadatu Babo, excuse me, we just recited it. It's important to know these things. Om Yadharma Hetu Prabhava Hetu Tekan Tadagato Heo Watatata Tekansa Yonarada Ewamwadi Mashumani Soha. All phenomena arise from causes. That's clear. These causes have been taught by the Tathagata. There's been many Buddhas before Buddha Shakyamuni, and they taught these causes. They taught karma, but they didn't teach how to have the cessation from this. The cessation, too, has been proclaimed by the great ascetic, the Sramaniye, who is Buddha Shakyamuni. This was his gift to us, was to teach us how to renounce phenomenal nature. So Buddha Shakyamuni, the emanation Buddha, the Nirmanakaya Buddha. So this is all from the forehead. We're still standing there. Om, Ahom, body, speech, and mind. The white fire. Now the red fire from our throat. From my throat emerges a red fire to purify my speech and actions, to enhance language and accumulate the 60 melodious voices for the benefit of enlightenment of all sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara. I blossom as the flower of the Sambhogakaya, the subtle enjoyment body of the Buddha Vajranyana, the 5 Buddha families. So now this red fire is coming from our throat. The speech is being purified. The speech, the throat, is the agent of the brain. all the emotions, all the confusions, all those brain thoughts are expressed through the speech. And this is being purified through this red fire. All the things that we've said, all the things that we've done, all the causes that we've had, all these thoughts, all these brain thoughts, and so on, that have manifested as blockages, as defilements, as confusions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, being purified. And that we enhance language, which means we learn to understand ourselves, not just at an everyday language level, but at a transcendent language level. And this is what we're learning. This is what we've been learning from the Dharma. This is what we're learning from our meditations and our practices. And we're learning the symbology of what these things mean. And we're getting deeper and deeper into it. You know, we're just beginning, actually. You know, last week we started talking about the 8 everyday consciousnesses and primordial awareness. So we identified those eight minds of everyday consciousness. The primordial consciousness is the Mahamudra. You know, we have to clear away all the junk so that we can be the presence of the primordial awareness. Otherwise, that junk keeps blocking, keeps pulling us away from the awareness. And then this next week, tomorrow, we're going to talk a little bit more about the symbology of what that means, of what that 8 consciousness represents, and how, when we're in the meditation stage, and now the language, the everyday language of having to, you know, articulate what is going on within us, now becomes light. Now has a different language to it. And it works very fast, much faster, and there's no room for misinterpretation. So, to enhance language, to the understood words are more important now. You know, what we've been doing in Buddhism 101 is defining so many things, all this new vocabulary, and defining vocabulary of understood words that we thought we understood, but now we're really getting to it. Maybe it's the second or the third or the fourth meaning when you go into the dictionary and you look up a word and you find there's the popular meaning. Oh, everybody knows that one. And then there's the second meaning and the third and the fourth. We may be talking about the fourth meaning or the third meaning, the more obscure meanings that the intellectuals, that the spiritualists, that those who dig a little deeper than those at the ordinary level become comfortable with and just abide in those ordinary meanings and so on. We're looking for the Dharma, for the deeper meanings. So we're not taking anything for granted. So we're enhancing language, the meaning of words, the meaning of language, and so on. And the 60 melodious voices for the benefit of enlightenment of all sentient beings. Now, this is a little bit of a vague thing. What are these 60 melodious voices? So the lamas will sometimes say, oh, you know, when the masters speak, when the Buddha speaks, he's speaking, and all these different beings that are present are hearing him speak in different modes and so on. No doubt. When we receive empowerments, when we receive these teachings, we're listening with our ears. We're listening with that language of what we are familiar with coming from his voice. But at the same time, there is heart emanations. There is a heart language that is being expressed. Are we receiving that? And is it going to all these different beings? Is it being heard by all these different beings? When the Buddha spoke, 2,600 years ago. There were no PA systems, but yet he'd be talking to multitudes. He'd be talking to thousands of people at a time. And could those in the back of the field be able to hear? And if they heard, what did they hear? Some would hear this, but some could be all the way back there and could recognize this. So the 60 melodious voices, I always, in my feeble mind, I always think of that the Buddha, the master, is expressing in so many different ways, in so many different levels, that so many different beings who are present can receive those teachings in ways that most of us aren't aware of. So 60 melodious voices for the benefit of the enlightenment of all sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara. I blossom as the flower of the Sambhogogaya. So the Sambhogogaya is the subtle enjoyment body. It is a form body, but it is a desireless body. It is the body of the intellect. It is the body of the meditation. For us to, when we say meditation, there's different levels of meditation. From the strictest point of view, the meditation may be the Mahamudra, where there's no thought. But for us to get to that point, we still have to deal with the noise that goes on inside our head, inside our brain. And that we are rearranging, we are recategorizing. We are looking at this, we are developing this at a higher level, and we're not listening to all the lower thoughts, the everyday mundane confused thoughts, but now we're listening to the higher thoughts. We are developing the higher thoughts, which, as I said before, have color to them, have rays of light to them, and sounds to them. They have mantra to them. This is what we are waking up to. This is what we are realizing. This is the power of the mantra. This is the Vajranyana. This is the Mahayana that takes us in there. It is also in the Hinayana. The mantras are in the Hinayana. So the flower, so now the flower means that, like a plant that is a seed, it grows. Now comes the flower, and the flower is this beautiful thing that everyone can enjoy for its beauty, for its aroma, So it's not something to be eaten necessarily, but it's something to be enjoyed. It's beautiful. These thoughts, these Sambhogogaya thoughts, these 5 Buddha families, these mandalas, all this is to be enjoyed. All this is very enjoyable. As we begin to do this and we're watching all the pieces of the puzzle come together, how exciting it is. Have you been moved with excitement as you've read things, or you've meditated, or you've heard things in teachings, and your heart just bursts sometimes with the thrill, oh, now I got it. You have those aha moments, and maybe a tear will come to your eye. Your heart is just bursting with this love, with this enjoyment, and you can't wait to have another experience like that. And it's very subtle, and it goes as fast as it comes. But we can stabilize in it through glimpse after glimpse. Our glimpses become visions, and we become stable in it, and we are developing our mandala, we are developing our Buddha field, such as it is. So the flower of the Sambhogogaya, of this meditation mind, the subtle enjoyment body of the Buddha Vajranyana, the five Buddha families. So Buddha Vajranyana is the head, if you will, of the five Buddha families. So we're going to be talking about them again tomorrow a little bit more. And so, and he is the color white. He represents white, you know, the white light of Vajranyana. And all the other lights are in the white light. You know, you take white light and you shine it through a crystal, a prism or something, and now you see the color spectrum, right? What we are experiencing right now is white light all around us. And within that white light is all the other lights. So this is the all-pervading wisdom of Vajranyana. And this is in our Sambhoga Gaya. So within that are the other Buddhas as well, and all the Bodhisattvas, and all the Bodhisattva brothers and sisters, and all the Dakinis, and all the Dakas, and all the Dharma protectors are all within this. All the yoginis and the yogis are all within this. So this is being purified by this red fire to purify all the negative karma, all the blockages that are caused by our speech and actions, so that now we can recognize this Sambhoga Gaya. If we are consumed with just the negativities, with the things that we say and the things that we do that are hurtful and cause suffering and so on, there's no chance that we're going to recognize this Sambhoga Gaya. We have to purify all that. So this red fire is the mechanism that allows us to do that. So we have the white fire, we have the red fire. This is the Om. This is the Ah. So now we come to the heart, to the Hung, a blue fire. From my heart emerges a blue fire to purify my mind, to enable and develop ultimate wisdom for the benefit of enlightenment of all sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara. I bear the fruit of the Dharmakaya, the truth body of the primordial Buddha Vajradhara Samantabhadra. So first we had the seeds and we had the flower. Now we're working on the fruit. My heart emerges as a blue fire to purify my mind. So my heart mind. Now my heart mind, has confusion. We hold on to the mind. This is very difficult. This is what the way of the Bodhisattva spent so much time talking about in the wisdom chapter of letting go of that mind. The Madhyamaka and the traditions that came after the Madhyamaka, the schools that came after the Madhyamaka, talking about mind only. They held on to the mind. It's only through the mind. But then you transcend that, then you get to the Maha Yoga, then you get to the Anu Yoga, you get to the Ati Yoga, you get to the Maha Mudra, you get to the Dzogchen. And I'm not an expert in those gradations of stuff. It usually gives me a headache when I have to start thinking about that, and I have to sit in those classes and listen to that. Like, God, why do I got to listen to all this stuff? I just want to be up here. But we hold on to it. I still got this mind. I got this holy mind. I got this sacred mind. Oh, I'm so great. I got this Buddha mind. I'm holding on to the idea of the mind, that there is this thing called Buddha. I hold on to the Buddha. It's all a concept. If I can say it, if I can think it, it is a concept. So this blue fire to purify my mind, to enable and develop ultimate wisdom, the ultimate wisdom that comes when we talked about the bhumis. Remember in Buddhism 101 when we were talking about the jewel ornamental liberation, and we were talking about chapter 19, and we were talking about the bhumis, and there's 10 bhumis, which are levels of the bodhisattva. And then there is that gap that sometimes is referred to as the 11th bhumi, which is when the bodhisattva crosses over into becoming a Buddha and giving up the mind, giving up the notion of wisdom. The ultimate wisdom for the benefit of the enlightenment of all beings in the 6 realms of samsara. The way in which the Buddha, the mode of the Buddha, the way in which the Buddha is able to do this, that which within ourselves is if one is completely pure, one is completely free of all these things. Otherwise, people are just chasing down appearances and thoughts. It's freedom. That's the first of the Eightfold Path, the right view, freedom, enlightenment. So to purify my mind. So this blue fire, you can think of it in many different ways. You can think of it, as this, sometime when you light a match or something, or you see a fire, there's a blue flame. I think with natural gas, there's a blue flame. If you go to your stove in your home and you turn it on, you see blue flame and everything. It's kind of a cool flame. It's not a real hot flame. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that kind of stuff. I always think of it as a single flame. A single flame that comes from our heart and envelops our entire physical, intellectual, spiritual body in this single flame that is purifying everything that we think, see, touch, hear, know, all that. I keep it simple. Emerges as a blue fire to purify my mind, to enable and develop ultimate wisdom for the benefit of the enlightenment of all beings in the 6 realms. Now, I bear the fruit of the Dharmakaya, the truth body of the primordial Buddha, Vajradhara Samantabhadra. Now I am the fruit. Now I am the Buddha. Now I am the result. Now I am the truth body, beyond concept. Of the primordial Buddha, Vajradhara Samantabhadra. Amanda, did you drop out there for a second?
No, I'm here.
Okay, all right. All right, so I bear the fruit. So there's the seed, there's the flower, and there's the fruit. Great analogy, great simile to be able to, hold this in our feeble minds as we are developing our embodiment of this. We're still standing there. We haven't even started doing the prostration yet. Om, ah, hum. When we stand there, right? First thing we do is go, Om, ah, hum. The body, speech, and mind. The Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, which is upside down. I don't know whether you ever noticed that or not. It should be the Sangha, the Dharma, and the Buddha. Okay, any comments, any questions? We're not going to get through all this tonight.
Yeah, you hooked me on that reverse order.
Yeah.
Oh, to tell me, I can see how the Sangha could be represented here, and the Dharma here and the Buddha here, I get the resonance between the places. So why are they switched? For prose or
I think just for prose.
prose? Okay. I
can't imagine any other reason.
I can deal with that.
Yeah, I can't imagine any other reason. There's no other reason. It's just language.
Okay.
It just flows better. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, But when we say body, speech, and mind, we can reverse it and say mind, speech, and body. But it doesn't flow like body, speech, and mind.
Well, it seems to me that you take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And if you were to have to, and the decision, it seems, is that the Buddha is in the heart center, the body is the other end. So, I mean, it just kind of, think of it like a reverse image rather than not in sync.
Yeah. I try not to think about it too much anyway.
That's a better idea.
Now we're talking about a clarity mirror looking into the three times and seeing.
I know what it means,
Yeah.
I know what it is. And I just let that little idiosyncrasy go,
Lance, I have one question.
Okay.
I'm sorry to go back a ways, but
It's okay.
in,
Go ahead.
in the green text that we're using,
Yes.
when it says the three face in our book, in the text, it says trusting, longing, and clear.
Yes.
Clear is the third. Is trusting the first?
The order, I've seen it expressed different ways, but I think fundamentally we have a yearning.
Well, that would be the longing.
Or the longing, yes. It's expressed
So that would be
sometimes as
longing, then trusting, then clear.
Yes. So I
Just
think that
word.
there has to be a longing, there has to be this aspiration to begin the search, to find someone to trust in, to be able to reach the clarity.
Okay, well, I guess that makes sense to me too. It's just in the little green booklet, it says trusting, longing, and clear. And I like the idea of it being longing, trusting, and clear.
Okay. It's just, just language.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now we begin to do the prostration. So it's the 5-point prostration. So we do Om Ahom, body, speech, and mind, the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And now we're putting all these images together, that we just went through. So, and I'll tell you, I memorized this whole thing. When I was doing prostrations, when I was doing the Refuge, I had memorized this whole thing. And I would recite this. I wouldn't do it, all day. But when I would first start my prostrations, I would recite this. And it's so profound, for me anyway. So I just point out the level some crazy people like me will do for these things. So the 5 points to the ground: purify the 5 poisons and develop the 5 wisdom. So the 5-point prostration. So we talk about the 2 hands, the 2 knees, and our forehead. So these are the 5 points. So now each hand means something. Now remember that the left is what comes in. The right is what goes out. So when we're using the beads, we're taking the beads with our left hand and we are pulling the beads towards us. We're pulling the blessings, we're pulling the mantras to us, coming in through our left hand and our left arm, which is closest to our heart, because the heart is on the left side of our chest. And then our actions go out through the right. So the left hand on the ground now is knowledge and fulfills the wishes of all sentient beings to be as the Buddha and practice the 4 great deeds of generosity, melodious voice, implementing the teachings, and living life as a practice in order to attract many disciples. So this is very powerful. That's a big statement right there. The left hand on the ground is knowledge and fulfills the wishes of all sentient beings. So this is all the practical stuff. This is phenomenal nature stuff. This is Dharma, learning the Dharma, learning how the Dharma works, all the practical aspects of it, and also learning what non-virtue is, as well as the virtue of the Dharma. Well, the Dharma includes virtue and non-virtue. So it's including both of those things. It's including dualistic nature, recognizing dualistic nature. We're not suppressing dualistic nature. We are liberating dualistic nature. And we do that from understanding it. So it fulfills the wishes of sentient beings to be as a Buddha. The wishes of all sentient beings to be as a Buddha. All beings want to be happy. All beings want to be free. Even the worst criminals. They're twisted. They got confused minds, but all they really want is to be happy and to be free. And because of their conditions and karma and so on, they're going about it in a totally wrong way. But all they really want to be is happy and free. And the same thing with insects, the same thing with animals. They're not aware of it, but they just want to run around and do the things that they want to do, and they don't want to be eaten by somebody else. They don't want to be put into a pen by somebody else. They don't want to be harnessed by somebody else and made to plow a field or something like that, or have somebody jump on their back and ride them through the fields and the forests and stuff like that. They just want to be by themselves and enjoy themselves. So to be as a Buddha and to practice the 4 great deeds. The 4 great deeds of the Buddha. What does the Buddha do? The Buddha, deeds of generosity. Everything that the Buddha does through the body, speech, and mind is the generosity for the benefit of the enlightenment of all sentient beings. And the Buddha has this melodious voice that everyone wants to hear, everyone loves to hear. And no matter who they are, they can receive that voice. They can hear that voice. The voice that touches them in the heart, that touches them in the ears, in their presence, the mind of the Buddha, the emanation mind of the Buddha, the Nirmanakaya, the Sambhogaya being manifest, the melodious voice of the Buddha, and implementing the teachings. The Buddha lived the teachings. Buddha Shakyamuni and all the great masters, they don't just teach this and then go to the bar at night and carouse around with the guys and so on. They live this life. They implement the teachings. They do these things. We think we do some things, we do, but not like they do. The monastics, what do they got? 242 Vinaya vows that they take. And those are the male monastics. The female monastics take, I don't know, does anybody know? Maybe it's another 60 or 100 other vows. So it is a huge commitment to do this. Now, you can question, is it necessary or whatever? It's a relative thing because it is in samsaric. We came from something that maybe, we are very fortunate. We may not need to have that monastic experience. On the other hand, we may need it very much, and we're just rationalizing that we don't need it. But in any case, we don't disparage it, we respect it, and we see that it is the embodiment of the virtue that is what's in question here, and making that our implementing those teachings in our lives. Then the next one is now living our life as a practice of those teachings. That we just don't become mindful of them, we are actually putting them into practice for all to see. And this is where the rubber really meets the road in terms of when you meet teachers and you hear, they're sitting on the throne and teaching the Dharma and how magnificent it is. But then when you get, outside with them later on and everything, what starts to happen? There are some who become, something like an ordinary being. There are some who really maintain the practices. And last month, if you were paying attention to Garchen Rinpoche, when they were doing the long life ceremonies and they were paying tribute to Garchen Rinpoche and telling the stories about Garchen Rinpoche, and it got down to talking that Lama Bumima and Ado Lama were talking about them, and they were talking about how amazed they continue to be that Garchen Rinpoche still, his life is a practice. And they were going through all these little stories, anecdotes, and so on to make the point. So they could see that. So, we are on some kind of path to be able to attain some kind of level, some kind of embodiment of that. So our left hand is symbolic of that going onto the ground. And as we do that, we attract many disciples, you see, because no one can doubt the sincerity and the virtue of the great masters like that. This is someone I really can put everything, all my love and trust into. This person is not going to let me down. This is the left hand touching the ground. The right hand touching the ground is protection and suppresses the 1 million maras before enlightenment. The Mara of delusion, the Mara of contamination, the Mara of controlling others, and the Mara of being controlled at the time of death. So you've heard these Maras expressed in different ways and different practices by different lamas and so on. But in this practice, this is the way it was explained. The right hand touches the ground to protect. The Dharma now protects us. Remember I said you bring in with the left and you go out with the right. And now the right is protecting and suppressing the 1 million Maras that we have within ourselves. All these different non-virtuous things that we do, these aspects of ourselves and so on, these demons, if you will, these bad characters that are within ourselves, before we become enlightened. We're filled with all these negativities, all these confusions. And until we can rid ourselves of these and protect ourselves that these things do not come back, then we're not going to achieve what we want to. Otherwise, we're just constantly be recontaminated. So it says here, these 1 million Maras before enlightenment, the Mara of delusion that says that, the delusion that we can attain enlightenment, the delusion that we are Buddha or not Buddha, that we can't attain this, depending on which way you want to look at it. The delusion of dualistic mind. And then the Mara of contamination. Once we have cleared away the delusion, we're still breathing. And we're still subject to contamination if we don't protect ourselves. So we have to be careful. We have to be ever vigilant. It is a practice over and over and over again until we give up the breath, that we can slip and we can fall back into samsara from whatever our temporary nirvana is. So the Mara of contamination, the Mara of controlling others. The Mara of controlling others is being able to think that we are so powerful, so wise, that we can tell other people what to do, and that we need all these things to be able to prove to them how wise we are. Maybe they're the Rolls Royces that I have to show how noble I am. So many people have given me these Rolls Royces. Maybe it's the mansion I have in Beverly Hills, and the one that I have in Florida, and the one that I have, when I go skiing in Colorado, that I have all these things that shows people, how powerful I am. They should listen to me. Or maybe it's just my words. Maybe I have nothing but just, a robe, and I go around, dictating to people how they should be, and so on. Just much simpler, but yet holding on to that and controlling others. And then the Mara of being controlled at the time of death. So this is very subtle. We give ourselves the gift of life. We choose our parents. We choose the life that we're going to have. But we also choose the way in which we're going to die. Now, we may not choose whether it's going to be by a bullet or by a disease or by being in an automobile accident. We may not have that literal way of choosing that. But the mode in which we die, or the mindset that we have when we die, we do have control of. And the goal here is to not even recognize that we died. Not even recognize that the body is gone. That we are so in the moment of being Buddha, so in the moment of being liberated, of Mahamudra, of Dzogchen, that we don't even notice that our body is gone. And then when it is realized, when it is noticed, say, good. Let's be clear light. Now I'm clear light. And this is what the Bardo Todal is all about, is being able to guide ourselves through that. All the deity yoga practices are teaching us how to perform the dissolution. I've said many times, we've died many times and we've been born many times. So here we have the gift of our death, of controlling ourselves. Do we want to die in a hospital? Do we want to die in our own bed? Do we want to die on the street from a car accident? And so it makes us more and more and more mindful to protect ourselves from accident, from injury, from not being in control of our time of death. Not knowing what the death process is. So again, the Bardo Todal is teaching us that. POA is teaching us that. The POA process is teaching us that. In March, the first weekend of March, Garchen Rinpoche is going to be teaching on POA. Khenpo has given many teachings on POA. The transference of consciousness. So this is a gift that we give ourselves. So so the right hand on the ground protects and suppresses the maras, those demons within ourselves that are saying to us, oh, this dualistic nature, this is the way life is. Oh, I allow myself to be contaminated over and over again. Oh, I'm going to control others through my wisdom and my power and my skillful means. Oh, I'm not going to worry about death. Death will take care of itself. So those are the two hands on the ground. So here's where we're going to have to leave it for tonight. Remember, Drupal taught this over the course of about a week. So you can read ahead, get a context of what's coming. It's fine. But you can see how powerful this is. And we've often said, that our practice, our meditation is not a passive meditation. It is a very active meditation. Otherwise, all these things come flooding into us. When they say, people have had, death experiences, and some people will say, I've heard different accounts of it. And some people will say, yeah, you see your whole life flashing in front of you and so on. And how much of that do you attach? And does some of that bring you back? You realize, oh, I got work to do. But if all that happens and you're just letting that flow, you don't even pay attention to that. You don't even recognize it. All you know is the clear light. That there's nothing to stop you from being liberated from the transference of consciousness. Okay. Any questions or comment?
I have a question, Lance.
Okay.
Once we practice this visualization for ourselves, are we also visualizing that all these other beings are prostrating also?
We're going to get to that.
Okay. Thank you.
But basically, we're doing it ourselves and allowing the facility for others to join us. Well, we're doing it for their benefit, but we're not, but it's, I don't know how to explain it any better than that.
That's perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so now we have to do our dedication. So we're on page 32, 33. So I'm going to go through this quickly if you don't mind, because we do need to close it out. It's very important to do the whole practice. We seal the practice. Everything has a purpose in here. So we've been through all the prayers and so on, and now we're putting it together. So page 32. Om I o ri ri li li o ang ga 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 na za 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 na da 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 na da 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 na ba 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 ma ya ba la ba sa sa ha kusa so ha Om mi dharma he tu pavo he tu tagan ta ga to he o da 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 ta so yo no rada evo mari ma shimani so ha Om Bajru Sabutamaya, Manu Balaya, Bajru Sabudano Baju, Tudo Mebawa, Zudogaya Mebawa, Zubogaya Mebawa, Anorectal Mebawa, Zarzidi Mebaya, Zara Karma Zazume, Zadu Aguru, Ha Ha Ho, Bagawa, Sara Dada Gata Baju Bami Mati Baju, Baba Ma Samaya Satwa Ha Om Ru Om Deata Om Deata Pensa Drua Awo Bodhanea Soha, Deata Pensa Drua Awo Bodhanea Soha, Deata Pensa Drua Awo Bodhanea Soha, Deata Pensa Drua Awo Bodhanea Soha. This is it. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are the 5 families in the 3 times have destroyed defilement and lead to equipoise of the enlightened mind. The Buddhas, this is it, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are the five families in the three times who have destroyed defilements and lead to equipoise of the enlightened mind. This is it, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are the five families in three times who have destroyed all defilements, lead to equipoise of the enlightened mind. Om Ruru Daru Muki Muki Soha. 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 The body, speech, and mind of the Buddha is the cause for enlightenment of all sentient beings. Om Hanabashabara Redis Om Hanabashabara Redis Om Hanabashabara Redis Om Hanabashabara Redis Soha. The bliss and strength in the heart center of the Buddha is equipoise. The bliss and strength in the heart center of the Buddha is equipoise. The bliss and strength in the heart center of the Buddha is equipoise. Om Ah Hong 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 The objects of refuge dissolve into the main figure, and he dissolves into your crown. Shabyo Kornam So Dang Deyang Wudu Serne Rang La Tempar Gyur. And then we visualize all the masters and the deities of the lineage tree, all dissolving into light, dissolving into Vajradhara. Vajradhara dissolves into light, dissolves into us through the crown of our head, into our heart center. And then we dissolve into the shunyata, into the emptiness. Okay. Dorje Chang, Talopa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, Dormerlogan Popa, Pagmajupa, Lordri Kompa, please bestow upon us the most auspicious blessing of all the Kaju lineage, all the Kaju lamas. By this virtue, may I achieve the all-knowing state. May all travel in the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, cross the ocean of samsara by defeating all enemies, confusion, the cause of suffering. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. I pray that the Lama may have good health. I pray the Lama may have long life. I pray that your Dharma activities spread far and wide. I pray that I may not be separated from you. As Manjushri, the warrior, realized the ultimate state, and as did Samantabhadra, I'll follow in their path and fully dedicate all merit for all sentient beings. By the blessing of the Buddha who attained the three kayas, by the blessing of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such, by the blessing of the indivisible Sangha order, may the merit I share bear fruit. By the virtues collected by myself and all beings in samsara nirvana, by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Sri Kumpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, meditation, until the end of samsara. Mangalam, Trizala Zambupipa, Alankar Bhavantu, Sarva Mangalam. By the virtue of this practice, may all beings be free from suffering and attain enlightenment. May all beings and activities be auspicious for the benefit of the enlightenment of all sentient beings. Om, Ah, Hom. Om, Ah, Hom. Om, Ah, Hum. May my body, speech, and mind become inseparable with the body, speech, and mind of all the enlightened ones. Thank you all very much. Thanks for your patience.